So today's a sad episode because the puppies that my dog had, I have a Frenchie, she had seven puppies, and seven puppies is pretty much a record. So I'm not sure why the puppies died. So today, guys, today's a sad episode because I want to talk about the next lesson in the podcast, which is choosing discipline over motivation. And I told myself I'm going to try to not let myself down and do a podcast at least once a week. And this week is tough because my Frenchie had seven puppies and we were excited. I mean, we were super excited about these puppies. And one by one, they started dying until the last one died a few days ago. And it's really bummed me out because one, I love my dogs. And two, we were already in love with these puppies. And I started to think about what has made me successful over these years. And it really comes down to doing the things you have to do, regardless of how you feel. So, discipline, guys, is one of those things that you do not have to be born with to obtain it, right? Some things in life, guys, you're not going to control, right? If you weren't born to be a star, you're never going to be a star. If you weren't born 6'5", you're probably not going to be in the NBA, right? There's exceptions, but life is defined by a set of rules, and you have to play with the cards you were given, guys. Now, luckily for you, discipline and hard work is something you can actually do that is not God given, right? And a lot of times, smart people, because they're so smart, it works against them. But the guy that's not so smart, the guy that has to work twice as hard to get the same concept in his head and understand it, that's the guy that becomes successful because he has to work twice as hard. He has to be disciplined. He understands that there's systems that he could put in place that will allow him to overcome the deficiencies of him not being so smart. So you have to think about the things that you can do to make your life better, not the things that you were not given and not the talents you were not given, nor make excuses for why you're not successful, guys. Why is it that so many people envy successful people, right? Why is that? I don't get it. You have the same hours in the day to work as hard as you want to work to be successful. So if you're not successful, guess whose fault it is? It's your fault. If you're not making the money you want to make, guess whose fault it is? It's your fault. So what do I mean by that, guys? What I mean is I don't feel like doing a podcast, but I told myself that I'm going to do it anyways because it's something that I committed to myself. I don't care if I have followers or if I have views. This is therapy for me. And I really do want to teach people how to become business owners by just demonstrating and talking about my life experiences, my lessons, and what I feel you should be doing if you're either one started a business recently or want to start a business. But I want to talk about the concept of discipline, and I want to talk about actually doing what you say you're going to do, guys. Half of you guys are not where you are. Half of you guys are not where you want to be because you have a big mouth that just talks because it has the capacity to talk, right? It doesn't actually mean the words that come out of your mouth have no value. They carry no weight. And that's the problem. The problem is you say things that you're going to do and you don't do them. And that's half of the battle. Because if you actually did at least a quarter of the things you say you're going to do, you would probably already be where you want to be in life, wherever that is, right? So let's talk about this concept of discipline. And why is discipline not the same as motivation? Sometimes motivation is like love, the butterflies, the love at first sight, right? When that mind of yours thinks of an idea at 2 a.m. and you're motivated, you're excited, you can't wait, right? But then when you actually see what it takes to get the job done, to see what it takes to actually do that thing that your mind is thinking about, all of a sudden now you're not excited anymore, right? It's just like relationships. After the honeymoon phase, after the looks fade a little bit, and after you see that relationships will work, now you're not that excited, right? Now you might want to separate, you might want to divorce. So why is it that you are so excited when you think of the thing you want to do, but yet when it's time to do it, you fail to act? There's two reasons. The first reason is that idea that you had or that thing you're thinking about is not truly something you love, right? And the other reason is you lack discipline, you lack commitment. So, to be successful, guys, you cannot only act when you're motivated, right? If I have a plan to get in shape or to create a business or to save money, and the plan is XYZ, you have to follow XYZ. You can't XTR the thing, right? It's not going to work. There's an old saying in the streets. It says, you follow the code, right? You follow the code and you break the code because you followed the code, right? So in business, you have to follow a certain rule, a principle. You have to follow certain discipline and perseverance and actually do the things you say you're going to do, guys. It's as simple as that. And a lot of you guys do not stop and think that sometimes when you tell people you're going to do something, you don't do it. That's priceless. That's a priceless failure you just created. There's You cannot buy that back. Your word is not something you can purchase, guys. Whenever you lose that, right? Same thing in a relationship. Whenever you lose trust, you can't buy it back. There's no amount of money that would buy that back. There's just not. There's not certain things in life you cannot buy back. And when you give your word on something you're going to do and you don't do it, and the other person gets disappointed and let down, you can't buy that back from that person. So if you actually want to do something in life and in business, you have to follow discipline. You have to set rules and you have to follow those rules. It's as simple as that. I was telling you in the beginning that I'm bummed out about my pets passing away. And just thinking about it, makes me emotional because these are innocent creatures, right? And they don't have a choice. Pets, pets are pets are more innocent than children in the sense that children eventually grow up and have their own choice. They can take care of themselves. They can be self-sufficient. But pets depend on you for life, right? If you all of a sudden abandon your dog or your pet at a certain age, they will die because pets are truly, truly innocent beings that depend solely on their master, their pet owner. So, taking that analogy, you as a human being who is a functioning being that can make decisions, why are you not being disciplined in your life and creating a better future for yourself? I don't get it. I don't understand the lack of commitment some people have, the stupidity to assume things are going to get better on their own without action. I meet people all the time that year to year, this is more for family that I see that are always on the same boat. They're always struggling. They're always a check away from being bankrupt or broke. And every time when the year starts, they always hope it gets better. And I one time I had a my ex father-in-law. He told me, this year's gonna be my year, right? This gonna be my year. And I asked him, well, what are you doing different to make it your year? Well, no, I mean it's gonna be my year. The luck is on my side, and I'm gonna be better off next year. I'm gonna be able to save some money. And I asked him again, what are you gonna do to make that year better for you? What have you changed in your habits over these years? And we ended up having an argument because he didn't understand what I was trying to tell him. I was not trying to discourage him from having a successful year. What I was saying was that if you don't change your way of thinking and your discipline, then nothing's ever going to change, guys. Life is not one of those things where you magically wake up and your life is better. Things either get better because you make them better, or they get worse because you don't change. Because what happens as time passes, you get older, you don't have the same energy, you're not as desirable as an employee. And if you wait too long to start a business, guess what? The chances of you being successful start to fade because you just are not going to develop that network. So discipline, guys, is the only way you're going to break free from that crappy job you have or that rat race to pay bills. I don't remember the last time I worried about paying a bill. And I'm not trying to sound cocky, but I'm just telling you, I live within my means. I know what I bring in, I know what I spend, and everything in my life, guys, is on auto pay. Nothing, I haven't, I don't think I've thought about paying a bill in years, guys. It just it doesn't click for my brain. My brain doesn't think like that, right? And I pay for things cash when I can, and I try not to have any interest loans, right? And everything as far as making sure that my business is successful has to do with the discipline that I carry. So it's one of those things where you're either going to be successful or you're simply going to fail in life.